Or the Newman City Council and Redevelopment Agency of May 27th, 2008. Please stand for the pledge and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you please remain standing and join me in prayer. We had Memorial Holiday, and I would like to take this opportunity to pray for and to thank all the people that gave their lives so that we could meet here tonight. Thank you in God's name. Amen.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Caton?
Present.
Councilmember Kelly?
Present.
Councilmember Craigwell?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Present.
Mayor Fantasia?
Present. Declarations of conflicts of interest. We have none. No ceremonial matters. Items from the public, non-agenda items. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring before us that is not on the posted agenda? Mike?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, and Mr. Holland. My name is Mike Lynch. I represent West Park. I live in Turlock, and I work out of Modesto. And as you know, the county is embarking on an extensive environmental impact report review process for the West Park, Crow's Landing Inland Port. I'm here just to tell you that on the part of West Park, we want to assure the city that if there's information we have that you need, we'll get it for you. If you want us to have formal presentations to your council or otherwise, we'll do that. If you want to meet with the staff on a technical basis, we'll do that. But we'll do all that we can to facilitate getting you the information you need as this process is ongoing. And that's my only reason for coming by tonight. And I hope you have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any other non-agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Item A, waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. Approval of warrants, approval of minutes of the May 13th, 2008 regular meeting, and adopt resolution number 2008 next number, a resolution requesting that the Board of Supervisors of Stanislaus County consolidate the City of Newman municipal election to be held November 4th, 2008, with the presidential general election to be held on the same date.
I move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Public hearings, we have two this evening. Our first one is accept the storm drain master plan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. At your regular meeting of February 26, 2008, our consultant, Mr. Bob Stoddard of Boyle Engineering, provided an oral presentation to you on the Storm Drain Master Plan study findings. The plan was then made available for public review and comment until the end of April and beyond that time. Comments, questions, concerns were submitted by Claremont Homes, Hearthstone Builders, and Associated Engineering during this review and this comment period. The letters are all included in your report for your review and for your information. And also included with those are the responses from Boyle Engineering to these comments. And at this time, Mr. Bob Stoddard wasn't able to attend the meeting, but Mr. Brett Swain is here in his stead. So at this time, the council may simply choose to discuss the comments and or responses to this issue, or you may simply choose to accept the Storm Drain Master Plan as submitted.
Ernie, as I read through my packet, I saw that that their concerns were answered. Were our answers to their concerns satisfactory to them?
I don't know.
Okay. I just wondered if we got any more feedback from them.
Mr. Ryan Carroll is here from Associated Engineering. Perhaps he would be able.
Well, it just seemed to me that it was properly answered. As I read each response, each one of their questions, it appeared that it was properly addressed. So I was just curious if they.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear any further comments
That's all.
from them.
You'd have heard.
And this is the reason why I made the statement in the staff report that you may simply choose to accept the report as submitted.
Is there any further questions from the council? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody like to comment on the storm drain master plan? See no one, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for some direction.
I would move to accept storm drain master plan as
I-
presented.
I accept it, or accept it, second it.
You accept it? A little early.
It's been a long day.
What a wedding will do to you, huh?
I should have started drinking earlier.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. And our second public hearing is adopt resolution number 2008, next number, a resolution declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This item before you to declare 3 properties as a nuisance so we can move forward on abating those. All of them are related to foreclosures and vacancies in the homes, tall grass, and general just unkept. We just have a couple pictures. We talk about this often every council meeting. We just wanted to show you a little bit of some examples of what we're actually speaking about when we ask for these nuisance declared, homes to be declared nuisance. Typical sorts of things that we're seeing in the homes, obviously on a corner house here. Just move through these, we only have 4 or 5 pictures, I believe. You can see how they detract from the rest of the neighborhood there. But, we have 3 tonight, one on Great Basin, one on Duck Blind, and one on Golden Eye. So we'd just like to move forward on those.
Questions of Adam?
Adam, is there a standard, a certain height of weed when you determine go, not go, abate, don't abate?
I thought I did something to the camera there, but that's
No,
Bob in
you'll-
the back doing that.
You'll learn Bob gets
Yeah.
tricky in the
I
background.
I saw something happen up there. I thought I hit the wrong button, but no, we don't necessarily have a black and white rule of a certain level of weed. I think it's just the whole appearance in on an individual basis, just looking at the home and what's happening, what efforts, if any, are being made by the whether it's the bank or the homeowner. But it's not a specific. They've got to reach 18 inches high or 12 inches high. It's just the totality of the circumstances.
Thank you.
Adam, I heard a couple people have griped to me about, and I know you guys took it all the way through the system, but they said that there was paint gone. We had a gentleman one night here talking about that too. How do you determine that? I mean, if it's new paint or that kind of thing, who determines what?
I mean, like some property that was behind.
Exactly.
You know, it's obviously it's a judgment call that has to be made with the person unresponsive, and we go through a lot of efforts to contact these people through certified letters and multiple contacts at the home. In fact, our community service officer, up to the day of this meeting, goes out and checks the home and makes one final attempt to resolve it before we even have to come to you.
Excellent.
As you often see, a lot of times in your packets from the week prior, I think in this week it was 9 or 11 homes.
Yeah.
We were able to get that down to 3. So the ones we're bringing to you are just the ones that are just absolutely unresponsive. We've got no cooperation or no contact with one or the other. And then if they're not present and not there when we're doing the abatement, we've got to make a judgment decision on what is, garbage and what is, valuable to certain people.
Very good. Thank you.
Further questions?
Councilman, also in some circumstances, if we can make contact with the property owner, we will advise them that we will be coming in on a certain date. Any stuff that they don't want thrown away, they need to remove, take out of there, and that has been done on a couple occasions.
Adam, one question, when a home is owned by the bank, do you get, I noticed there's one that is owned by the bank. Do they respond?
Some banks are very cooperative and others aren't. I don't have the specifics on which ones, but some work with us and some don't.
Do you think they would be interested in keeping the property up, because it certainly loses value when it starts to look like that?
You would think so, but I think you see a lot of them are the bank owns. I think their plates are pretty full right now. Probably pretty tough for them to
Thank you very much.
If there's no further questions for Adam, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody from the public like to comment on these abatements? Seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to the council for some direction.
I'd move to adopt resolution number 2008, next to number, resolution declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Adam, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And item A under regular business, adopt resolution number 2008, next to number, declaring certain personal property, surplus property, and authorizing disposal or sale of property.
Stuck with me again. And this one is two more vehicles that we bring to you now. Many of you are probably very familiar with these vehicles, and it is somewhat sadness and regret that we think the time has come to dispose of two what we would call specialty vehicles, one being the DARE vehicle and the other it's used commonly for the Explorer program. One is a 1991 Chevy Caprice, the other is a 93 Chevy Caprice. Both are in need of repair at this time, and the cost on those, we continue to have to supply maintenance to those, and it appears over the last several years there's just been very little use of those. Also, a space issue is now presenting us as we've grown, and the addition of the canine unit and those vehicles, etc. Just as all good things sort of have to come to an end, it seems it's time for these particular vehicles. The department was often using those in a community outreach approach, those types of things, and we're not abandoning those efforts, we're just going in a different direction and creating a different image for the department, and we think this is one of the steps to do that, is to go ahead and move these vehicles out of the department's fleet this time. So we would ask that we be allowed to dispose of those two vehicles.
Adam, is the DARE program just pretty much,
Good
I
question.
mean, not just in our community, but in
question.
other communities, is it pretty much over and done and gone and nobody uses it anymore?
Actually, DARE America is a corporation, and one of the vehicles does have DARE prominently displayed on the vehicle, and we don't even have a DARE program anymore. So that's a valid point. We don't even teach DARE, and that's common throughout California, and in fact across the nation over the last probably 3 or 4 years. A lot of departments have been moving away from the DARE program just because it's very difficult to measure how successful it is. No doubt it had some successes, but just the cost benefit to keep the program just wasn't there. So finding a lot more success with the school resource officer program, where the officer doesn't, DARE would just come in for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, give a short presentation, and then the officer leaves. Where SRO, they're on the campus all day, they have interaction all day, so we think we're getting a lot more impact with the kids through that program. So that is another concern. DARE America has not, contacted us and asked us to remove it, but certainly that's something to think about, that we're not teaching the program anymore yet, using their name and so on.
Adam,
Yes.
will that DARE decal be removed from the vehicle?
As with all vehicles that we dispose of, anything associated with the city, absolutely. Particularly in this case, anything, even if it just simply said police, we take all of that off. The light bars, police radios, we strip them down. All the stickers, emblems, etc. Most of them, in this particular case, because there probably is a little bit of, contrary to the ones last week or last meeting, very little value. They're pretty much worn out. These will have a little bit of value to them, so they'll probably go to auction. So we would have to have everything stripped off of those.
Adam, were you going to leave on all the extras that the officers actually went out and got donations from themselves? I mean, the wheels and the tires and different things. You think that's a selling point, or what?
Yeah, we'll have to probably just leave all that together, and a lot of those donations, that was a consideration. We talked about a lot of them. Were donated by community members and businesses, but it's been a number of years, and we truly feel the department got a great benefit out of the vehicles, and just, they're approaching, one of them's almost, just shy of 20 years old, so it's just time to move forward and go in a different direction.
Okay. Further questions? Not some direction?
I move for approval.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item B. We're still with us, Adam. Establish a fee for
I got
live
two more.
scan services
I gotta
at the
save
police
my breath
department.
I got, hopefully, you're taking into account that this is 4 items. I'm not in true Randy, fashion talking this long with just 1 item. This is 4 items.
It is very riveting, though, so.
Then this next one is for something we're very excited about getting at the department, and we think it's a huge asset to the community and the entire West Side community. We were fortunate enough to be selected to have a live scan machine, which is probably most of us familiar. You volunteer to coach or certainly work in government, you have to have a live scan so your fingerprints can be checked in an automated fashion through FBI or DOJ, these types of things. We're fortunate enough to be selected to receive one of these at no cost to the city through a board that the 9 chiefs belong to and the county sheriff, and we receive state monies for technology. Patterson does not have one, nor does Gustine, and nor are there any plans in the immediate future for any of those communities to have them. So we do expect to be busy with this. It's just difficult to gauge how busy. We'll have to, after a few months, give that a assessment. There are a number of fees associated with this, depending on the level of clearance that they need. If they need all the way up to an FBI clearance, for example, could be an additional $24. I mean, there's just a line item for whatever certain clearance they need. Secondhand dealers are a certain clearance, police officer applicants, teacher applicants, and so on. The fee that we're asking you to adopt tonight is a $25 cost recovery fee for our service of providing the actual live scan. Having our staff perform the live scan, do all the paperwork associated with it, the billing to whatever agency, if it's a school district that comes in, for example, an invoice is going to have to go out to them to be paid for that. Obviously, my fees to manage the program, the supervisor's fee, so on. And what we believe best represents the recovery of those costs is $25 for the city of Newman to charge. And we also compared that to the agencies in Merced County as well as the other live scans in Stanislaus County. We're well within the norm with that fee, that cost recovery fee. We hope to have this running in the next, I'd like to say 30 days, but probably realistically it's 45 or so. We have the machine, it's just a matter of, we've got to run a little bit of electrical, put a plug in where it fits in the building and do some training, and then we'll be up and running. We'll certainly do a press release and announce that our citizens don't have to drive in Modesto anymore or Merced to do that.
If you consider the price of gas, this $25 seems awful cheap, huh?
Yeah, especially if you're driving a diesel.
Exactly.
Mayor, we got a call from Ms. Cope at the school district today, and she's quite anxious for us to have that up and running. Last year, I think they sent off between 50 and 60 people to Modesto,
Wow.
to get that done, and they were paying $25 an hour over there.
Mm-hmm.
She said that we could expect that the new hires.
Yeah,
Good.
I have heard David just mention a lot of our people have told us our community members go to Stan State and they're $25 as well. So we'll charge the same rate and they don't have to drive to Turlock to do it.
Okay. Further questions? If not, some direction.
I so move that we adopt resolution number 2008, next number, establishing a cost recovery fee in the amount of $25 for live scan service.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item C, adopt resolution number 2008, next number, authorizing the purchase of a 2007 Chevrolet Tahoe Police Edition K9 vehicle.
This is, everyone's familiar obviously with the K9 program, and through our study with that and as we move along, as with any new program, you're going to run into things that, are unexpected or we weren't able to predict happening. One thing that's unique to us is, in the city of Newman, is there may be an occasion where, as much as we don't want this to happen, and we certainly do everything to prevent it, in our business, we have to plan for a worst-case scenario. And there may come a time where the canine officer is the only person on duty at that time. And obviously, we can't stop arresting people. And when that happens, we have to have the capability of transporting people to jail or being able to secure someone in a car so we can maybe deal with another situation on the street, but we need to put a prisoner in the car. What we learned is through having a canine vehicle as a Crown Victoria, which was always the plan, and through the normal course of the budget adoption, we would, as we often do, buy a new Crown Victoria patrol car. we learned that wouldn't be possible. To provide the canine platform in the back for the dog and a prisoner in the back, just not compatible. They don't mesh well with each other.
Prisoner wouldn't make any trouble, probably, but
Maybe not, but our
You'd get your name in the paper.
we would get our name in a few places, probably in Fresno and other places. But anyway, and the other common question is, well, why can't you put the prisoner in the front seat of the Crown Victoria? It's just not an accepted practice in California. It's just extremely unsafe, and unfortunately, it continues in other states across the country. Officers are doing that, and it's just not safe to place prisoners in the front seat with officers, even handcuffed. I mean, you're trying to drive and he tilts over and kicks you. I mean, there's so many things that could happen. It's just not something that we could, safely do. So with that, it took us to looking at other departments and what they're doing in similar situation. That's the Chevy Tahoe. There is a cage for the dog that I should have had this probably for you on the screen. I apologize for that. But sort of for those of you that maybe have an SUV or even your pickups have the 60-40 split you've heard of, the 60% would be where the canine is, and then it still leaves a partitioned off area for the bad guy to sit in. So our officers would still be able to take people to jail or quickly secure someone and then deal with another matter on the street if they had to. And this goes in the Tahoe, and surprisingly the cost is no different, very, very close to what it would be in the Crown Vic. But this provides us with the ability to still transport people and secure our dogs and keep our officers safe. So what we're asking for tonight is the reason we're asking you now versus waiting through the regular budget adoption is we've only found 2 in the whole state. One, because they're 2007, so we're trying to cut costs versus buying an 08 or an 09. There's 2 in the whole state that we've been able to identify now that are at this year. And if we were to wait and try to get an 08, maybe in a local market or expand what's out there, unfortunately there's a labor strike occurring with one of the components of the rear end for the Chevy Tahoe. So we're probably at 5 months for delivery is the estimate based on the labor strike. And we just don't want to start the program that long when the community's put so much into it. So that's why we're here before you tonight asking to adopt this earlier than we normally would. With that, though, we would not be asking for anything, and this is just sort of, we want an advance, I guess is the easiest way to explain it. We're asking for the same amount that would be spent on a Ford Crown Victoria. With anything overrun, the canine fund would pay the difference.
I believe we did the same thing last year. We found a car, I believe, and
Yeah, we
got it
started to
for
go
the
down that
fiscal
aisle
year.
and then for a second Charger.
Right.
But the cost didn't work out for us, so we ended up buying a Crown Vic instead and of getting a second Charger. And that was, again, a cost consideration. What the price was promised to us, they could not deliver it to us, and we could not move forward with that purchase. But we did buy a new Crown Vic instead.
Questions?
Adam, one question.
Yes.
So an officer goes out and arrests somebody, and they put the poor dog in the cage? Is that right?
Yeah, both of them. Actually, strangely as it sounds, these dogs are going to spend most of their time in that cage. I mean, they ride around, all day with the officer, and they try to get them out as much as they can. But a lot of the calls just aren't appropriate for the dog. So the bad guy gets the good end of the stick on that one. He gets a 30-minute ride, and he's out of the car, and the dog's stuck in there for 11 hours. So. This is, again, as a last resort. A lot of people were able to issue citations to and release in the field, but we have to have the ability to secure someone safely and take them to jail. And as much as we don't want someone working by themselves as the canine unit, it could happen. I mean, and it will. Actually, it will happen. So.
Adam, have we started to make any modifications to any of our cars?
We haven't. We did take possession of a cage unit for a Crown Victoria, but we are going to be able to return that and get that back. It's the same company.
Same cost then, Adam, on that, or, the cages?
I don't know the
Well,
exact
close
number,
enough
but
where-
it's so.
yeah.
We actually found just in the last week a different vendor for this unit that was, it's amazing the different prices and the markups. It was $2,000 cheaper than the first vendor we had contacted. So we are very active trying to find the best deal we can for what we're trying to do here.
Further questions for Adam?
And Mayor, just as a point of clarification, Chief McGill did contact our local dealership to see if he could secure, and he was unable to secure, as the chief did recognize there's only 2 of these vehicles in California.
Right.
So we did try to go local. We did try to use our local dealership first, and we try to do that whenever possible. So that was something that Adam, as Chief McGill, did right off the bat. So
Excellent.
If there's no further question, some direction?
I make a motion that we adopt and purchase the 2007 Chevy Tahoe Police Edition K-9 vehicle.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adam, thank you very much.
Chief, before you leave, I see your canine officers here. Can we get a quick update on the progress?
You bet. Yeah, I should have probably made that a part of that. We still have Arco, Officer Hutchins' dog. He does have a little bit of a teeth concern that we're still dealing with. We think we're going to be able to keep Arco. He's very successful in training, doing very well. He and by all accounts, all the trainers are indicating that he and Officer Hutchins are a perfect match for each other and doing very well. We have one more vet appointment on June 4th that we think is going to resolve itself and be okay. But we do have in the back of our mind if we have to send him back. In the short term, it's going to hurt because it'll set us back a little bit. But in the long term, obviously, we need to watch what's in the best interest of the city and the department. Officer Earl just recently took possession of his new dog because Jackson, the first one received, had the ACL tear, so we were able to return that to the vendor. And they're beginning training, and hopefully we'll get them up to speed as quickly as possible. They continue to train, and a lot of what we're doing now is equipment, trying to get all the equipment in and basically get them ready. But very, very hopeful to have them out as soon as possible. One of the biggest items, we're just waiting for the vehicle. So we have we're excited about it. We're looking forward to it.
What's the term when we can expect to see them on the streets?
If all goes well with ARCO, and obviously we have to have a vehicle for them to be in, and that's one of the things we're trying, that's why we're here tonight. If we can order this vehicle, in the next day or so, they say they can have it to us within 3 weeks. And they're actually, we were able to even, one of the things we really like this vendor is they're even going to upfit the vehicle at reduced rate to what we would normally pay the county shop to upfit our vehicles. So we're going to get the vehicle almost ready to go except for a computer. And once we get that in and the cage in the back, so 3 weeks for delivery. I think we're shooting for best case scenario 6 weeks, and that's probably pushing it. I'd say more likely 8 weeks.
Our code will be ready by then, Officer?
He's ready to certify now. We're dealing with the tooth problem. He will do the apprehension. Just with the nerve being exposed with the broken tooth, he doesn't want to stay biting because it hurts. So we're going to get the root canal, and soon thereafter.
Root canal for a dog.
We don't mean to laugh.
It's just a, doggy.
Yeah, we're learning a lot about the canine program. We initially were referred to one. I think this guy was 100% cosmetic. He wanted $6,000 to repair his teeth, and the dog was only worth $9,500. So we were at that point. If that was the final decision, we were going to send the dog back. But the more research we did on this guy, it was his office is the Taj Mahal, and it was more anybody that pay that much for their dog's teeth. I don't know. But we were able to find somebody local that is the sheriff's canine unit vet, and he thinks he can repair it for a lot less, as in a couple $100 or $300 or $400. So
That would be the Hollywood, like The vet
Yeah, we're talking
90210
this-
or?
Arco probably would have had teeth whitening and, facelift and the whole thing.
Yeah, full cat.
Hey, Jason described the office as, this basically gold lace tile and, so. It was near San Francisco, so. We quickly realized that was not the direction we wanted to go.
Yeah.
Well, John, we're anxious to see you out there with your dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be styling in a new Tahoe.
We're excited about it, and it goes to the whole thing. It goes back to what a lot of people put a lot of money into this effort, and I think they're going to see that we took it serious and we're a class act, and I think it's going to send a strong message that it's a very professional outfit, and that's what we're trying to
That
accomplish.
should have a unique look out there. I don't think anyone else would have a Tahoe with canine.
The sheriff's office
Sheriff's
does,
They
and
do? They do.
Ceres has as well. So there are a number of departments that have gone that direction.
Okay.
Yeah. But certainly I don't think Gustine's at Crown Victoria,
Yeah.
but I don't even think he works full time with his dog. I don't know, but anyway.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Chief.
Adam.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Item D, accept the completed classification and compensation study.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. At the April 13th council meeting, we had Katie Konecko here from Coffin Associates, and she presented the classification and compensation study to you. The city manager asked at that time that the council delay action on accepting the report in order to allow more time for the union representative and its members to overlook the report. The study was conducted within the guidelines of the RFP, including a comprehensive classification study for non-management, non-sworn staff, and a total compensation study for non-sworn city staff. In the classification study, we asked that Coffin Associates determine that all job descriptions and titles were accurate for the position and the duties that they were doing. So Coffin Associates went through and verified. We had a couple of changes. I think we had 2 retitlings and 3 reclassifications as far as that part was concerned. The second half of the study was compensation, and what they do is they go through and they take the 10 cities, which we had brought to you at a previous time, compare their highest paid person in that position to our highest paid person in that position. They outline it first by base salary and then second total compensation package. That was part of what we had asked for in the RFP. And then another step that we had asked for is that they bring it all together, show us the completed data, and then give us any recommendations that they may have as far as retitling, reclassifying jobs, and then anything concerning the compensation study. So basically, Coffin Associates did exactly everything that we asked for in the time frame that we asked them to do it, and I'm asking tonight that the classification and compensation study be accepted as completed.
Questions? Comments?
There are members here that would like to maybe address the council.
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
thank you. My name is Pat Bissell, and I'm from Operating Engineers Local 3, and we represent the subject employees in this classification study. And I want to thank the city for permitting this kind of thing to take place here, because it really gives us a good snapshot of where we are. I do want to point out, however, that Koff and Associates made some recommendations. This Y-rate situation, I didn't hear it described tonight, but I would ask that the city council hold off on making any decisions about the recommendations of Koff, and I'll tell you why. Koff and Associates was, in our view, hired to get these numbers, which they did. And they do a good job of it. The problem we have with this one is that if you look at any one of these appendix, like 2B, for example, the associate planner, you'll see that across the board with City of Newman, they list $1,767 as the health insurance. And none of the other cities are even close to that number. They're hundreds of dollars away if you go across the board. So that 1767 figure tends to skew Newman's, the employees of Newman, compensation and move it quite a bit higher in the compensation area in the comparables. So we asked the question, well, why is that? It's because we have this HSA plan here, and as you know, I think you know, when we brought that plan down here, HSA, the idea was to save the city money, obviously, and get ourselves a good plan, which we did on both accounts. And I, again, thank the council for that. The problem, as it affects this study, is that if you take a look at this, you would say to yourself, well, gee, Newman, we're paying an outrageous price for our health insurance here, $1,767 compared to $1,300, $1,500, $1,400, $1,200, and so on. The reason is that nobody in the city is compensated at $1,767, whereas at these other cities, that top rate is garnered by a lot of people. So what I'm asking to do is this. Let us take care of that issue at the bargaining table. I'm asking the council, just don't adopt. For example, if you look at Appendix 4, that's this one here that lists all the cities and goes across, and the final column says internal placement 10% below account clerk 2, Y rated. Across the top says comments. Some of those classifications going down the right-hand side recommend Y rating. That means freeze the position at the current level of compensation and wait for the comparables to catch up before you raise salaries. So the importance of the fact that the health insurance number on here skews the figures affects that recommendation. Now, I don't have any problem at all with, so far, checking the numbers that were provided by Coffin Associates. They do a good job. They're all over the place. But the problem is we have HSA here, and as you recall, we're saving a lot of money with that HSA, but you wouldn't know it by looking here. Because as I say, that number 1767 is not, it's apples and oranges to these other agencies. So all I'm saying is we can take care of that, discussion at the bargaining table. We're not going to come back here and, intend to debate it before Your Honor. But I'm just concerned because Coffin Associates comes in with the numbers and then says, hey, why rate this, change that, change this, change that. They're not hired to do that. They're hired to give us the numbers so we can go in at the negotiating table and talk about real world stuff. And again, we have a good relationship with the city and the council, and there's nothing, not accusing anybody of being unfair. It's just the numbers are skewed because it's an unusual situation because you have this HSA. But I don't want the city to be committed to this Y rate situation in each one of these classifications. What you'll be told is they list the highest possible number paid to an employee. This happens to be the HSA plan, an employee at 65 years old with a full family benefit. That's not happening. So if you look, what we want to take a look at, and I don't want to get too much into the details, we want to take a look at what the real world situation is. What is Gustine paying for their health insurance? What is Newman paying? What is Dos Palos paying? What is, instead of these numbers which don't reflect comps for that, to answer that question for you. So I just ask that, we have no problem with the numbers. It's just that I don't want you to tie the negotiators' hands by adopting the recommendations made by COF. We can take care of that, like I said, at the negotiating table. No problem. But anyway, I think you get the point. Anybody have any questions about it?
Well, Pat, even if you looked at those numbers, whatever Gustine, Dos Palos, and I don't know what their insurance coverage is, and I really don't care, bottom line, if they don't have an HSA plan like we do, those numbers still won't pan out. I mean, because you're talking about two different kinds of coverages.
Well, there's a way, I mean, there's a different way to approach it. In other words, you know, you can take a look at every classification up the line and say to yourself, what does Newman pay an employee with 10 years on, just like they do with the longevity? What does a Newman employee make with 10 years on in a family at age 40 or something? You'll bring this number way down if that's the average. Now, what they're looking at, admittedly, is the highest they'll pay in these other cities, but with the HSA plan, we're at a disadvantage because theoretically, the city could pay that $1,767, I suppose, but it doesn't. They're still going to be topped out at $1,400 or $1,200 or $1,100 down in Gustine, no matter what. 65-year-old guy or person with a family, excuse me, is only going to qualify for $1,100 down the road. But you're taking this high number of 1767 for the same person here. So it doesn't, it becomes apples and oranges. There's other ways to make that comp and be fair about it.
But isn't there a cap on the HSA of like $4,500 a year?
Well,
is there not a cap on HSA for $4,500 a year? So it's like a credit card. They can use that for insurance up to $4,500. Every time they go in, they use the card, like a credit card for their insurance coverage. And then,
but you see,
and then what? Let me finish. Up to $4,500 per year for a family. Then is the employee then responsible for anything over that?
No, the HSA is a plan developed by IRS and only available to cities about this size. You can't, if you get any bigger than this, you can't get into HSA. It's a really good plan. What we're talking about is what does it cost the city to insure it, not what the benefits are. For example, maybe Gustine pays $1,200 for X benefit, whereas Dos Palos might pay $150 more for the same. But that's, you know, that can be reflected in here. But you're not paying $1,767 for the same benefit you're getting. Those people are getting down the road.
Well, I don't. Because I've been on both sides. I guess my question is I don't care what Gustine or what Dos Palace or whatever. I think I'm more concerned about what our employees.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've been on the other side of the table.
Well, we do care because this is a comp study. Otherwise, we wouldn't. I mean, we're happy. We're getting a nice plan. But the problem is, the city, depending on which side of the coin you look at it, the city's getting credit in this compensation study in the comp study for a lot more money than comparable to these other cities, and that's what this study is all about. What's everybody else making? Patterson, Gustine, Dos Palos. If you look on here, you got all these cities. We want to say, let's make this a fair comparison. And the way it is right now, it's just skewed too high here, because you have this aberration or hybrid or whatever you want to call it, HSA plan. So we want to be able to come back to the table. All I'm saying is make this argument and work it out at the bargaining table. But I just wanted to call it to your attention because there's recommendations in this package that we would prefer that you not adopt. The number's fine. Recommendations with Y rates and that sort of thing, I'd hate to see the council hung up on taking those recommendations, because all we asked for was a comp study for numbers, not recommendations. So we're willing to go back to the table and talk to Michael about this all day long, and if it works out one way. I mean, ultimately, you're going to make the decisions about what the city's position is with compensation based on something, but we think we have an argument here that says, look, this comp study in one specific area skews the final result, against us. So that's all I'm asking. You can I just don't want the council to approve the recommendations and have that be what's driving the manager at the bargaining table. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may address a couple of the comments. First of all, we're not asking the council to adopt this, and we're not asking you to adopt the recommendations. All we're asking you to do is accept the report as it was presented in the RFP and what we requested, and that they have completed that report consistent with the RFP. Secondly, with respect to Mr. Thistle and what he's speaking about on the HSA program, we are comparing apples to apples. What we do is we take an employee that has been in a position for 5 years, and that would put them at the top step, and it doesn't matter what city they're in, and what their pay is and what their benefit package is. Then they ask each of the cities what's the maximum amount of money that you would pay for health benefits for that employee.
I agree with that.
And that's what they ask, because we don't know. You can't say. And I know Pat made the comment that they're garnered by a lot of people. It's hard to say. One month I'm in one plan, 39 years old with a family. The next month I turn 40. I'm in a whole different price range for the city. So you can't really guess. So what you do is you take the top, and all the cities take the top, and that's how you compare apples to apples on that.
Well,
And whether it's an H.
And I think as well, because I think I asked a question. I think I asked a question before. This is not a binding document by any stroke of
It's not.
imagination.
Just a report.
There's no sense arguing it here.
Okay,
Just
so
a
it's
report.
Appreciate it. Okay.
It's just a report is all it is.
Yep.
Correct?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
We're only accepting the study that was done
Okay.
by the company.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct.
As completed by the company.
Yes. Further
Any
questions?
other questions?
If not, a motion to accept the study?
I so move to accept the study.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Item E, a report from Supervisor DeMartini.
I know I dropped that there. There's an honest
That was mine.
city
Dropping your
employee.
wallet?
That was mine.
Hey, that's a 60-40 split. 60-40 split.
How much is that Tahoe?
Good evening, Mayor Panazia, council members. I just have two short things tonight. Tomorrow is the Orostemba Flood Control Project. We're going to be analyzing that. I talked along with to Dennis Cardoza yesterday, along with Mayor Panazia, about trying to get this project off the ground. And I know it's been going on for a very long time. But tomorrow, Dennis Cardoza is coming. I believe the Corps of Engineers, the next new guy who's coming. I forget how many we've had, but there's been quite a few. But anyway, hopefully someday we'll be able to get something done. So that will be tomorrow, and I'll be there for that. The other thing is just the next meeting of the West Side Healthcare Task Force will be June 19th in Gustine this time. As you know, we rotate the meetings from Patterson, Newman, Gustine. So it's their turn. We've talked to the city of Gustine, and it's everything's set. You know, the progress for the healthcare task force comes slowly, but we had a very nice meeting the last time with somebody from UC Merced, and we talked about using telemedicine, which is something reasonably new. And UC Merced being designated as medical research this close to Newman is bound to help us. They can provide equipment, and should we get some facility built, it would allow a specialist somewhere else in the country, maybe not even in the United States, to be able to see the patient and look at it without having to go to a specialist in San Francisco or a larger city. This would tremendously reduce the cost. So anyway, we look forward to a good meeting the 19th. So, we are continuing to make progress, but as I found, the healthcare system is much more complicated than what I ever imagined. but we'll keep plugging along.
Thanks, Chief.
Jim, question? We continue out in agriculture to have problems with people stealing copper wire, radiators, everything they can get their hands on to sell to a junkie. Since you've passed your ordinance in the county, has there been any monitoring back on the junk dealers to see if they are following the letter of the ordinance?
Yeah, we have one guy in South Modesto that we're having some problems with. The answer to that is yes. Occasionally the sheriff's department does a sting operation, and we have some stolen copper wire, or new copper wire, that would appear to be stolen. As these guys come in with the sheriff's officers have phony ID and an old car, and they do a pretty good job. And they do check these guys occasionally. I've talked to the sheriff several times about it, and just having occasionally they do it. There's one on 9th Street and one on South Modesto that's questionable, buying stolen wire and not filling out the paperwork properly. The real solution to this would be Tom Berryhill's Assembly Bill 844. And he has reintroduced that again. You know, last year that went all the way through the Assembly, got killed in the Senate by the Scrap Dealers Association. Tom Berryhill has introduced it again, and hopefully he can get it through. He's got a lot of support for it, and more than the problem is not so much in this county anymore, because these guys know they're being watched, and they could have the sheriff's sting operation come at any time. What we have found is that the stolen copper wire, brass, and aluminum is making its way into Contra Costa County and into the Bay Area. And that's primarily where it goes. And Assembly Bill 844 would take the ordinance that we have in Stanislaus County and make it a statewide law. So that's the real solution to it. And I'll let you know when this thing is coming up for a vote, but it's been reintroduced. We are watching our dealers pretty closely. I mean, just occasionally we go through and, you know, if they get caught buying stolen wire or copper, brass, or aluminum, they get fined for that. And the second time, they lose their license. We're not fooling around here. But unfortunately, other counties do not have the same type of ordinance that we do, and that's where I think a lot of it's going. And San Joaquin County does, and Merced County is working on one. Fresno has one too. But it is a problem.
Oh, it's a monumental problem, monumental. And to quote a friend of mine, I hope those weenies in Sacramento get off their tails and get something done.
Be careful calling them weenies.
I was going to say.
You can
Where have I heard that word before?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Staff reports?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure the council may have noticed or may have not, but our tenants at the corner of Fresno and 33 are no longer occupying our structure. That would be the Smog and Lube Company. They have cleaned up the site. We'll be changing out the locks if that hasn't already been done. So, and then we'll make some recommendations to the council on how to move forward with that site. You can expect to receive your 2008-2009 budget this Friday, right? This Friday. We'll be submitting you the budget for this Friday. We will have a workshop scheduled for prior to our next meeting, and that is June 10th. And we'll start this workshop at 10 o'clock or 6 o'clock, excuse me. And that'll go for an hour until until the council meeting starts at 7. So, but in the meantime, if you have any questions about the document, feel free to contact myself or our finance director, Sonia Silva. We can sit down with you and answer any questions that you may have. Also, we can arrange you to sit down with department heads if there's issues or questions regarding any individual department and their budgets that I may not be able to answer. We can bring in the department head as well. And then we are asking that you have that workshop on the 10th, and then we're asking you to adopt the budget on the 24th. Now this year it's going to be very difficult, so we'll probably ask you to adopt what we're going to term a interim budget.
And then we're just going to report back to you every quarter and let you know what the state of the state is, the state of the city is financially, if anything has changed with the state and the resources, because it's going to take them a couple months to adopt their budget after we adopt ours. So we'll keep you up with quarterly updates on the budget, and then if we have to scale things back and our budgets back, we'll try to do that. I can tell you right now, we are approaching 2005, 2006 numbers right now in terms of revenues and expenditures. So we'll be trying to roll back the budget 3 years. And as you know, energy costs continue to escalate, as do healthcare costs and labor costs as well. So we're trying to provide you a budget that, again, continues to highlight public safety and recreational programs for our residents, but yet do it on a fiscally balanced budget. But I can tell you right now, at this point in time, it's going to be very difficult to balance the budget. And I am anticipating that we will not be submitting a balanced budget to you. It'll be in the deficit of less than $100,000. So. The high winds kept our public works crew extremely busy. As you'll see, there's lots of fallen trees along Driscoll and other places. So what the public works staff has done right now is just kind of chop them up a little bit, and they're going to come back. And then our public works director has contacted Berlotti's, who's going to help come back in and clean up the debris that's there. So.
Michael, has that been made public?
Not yet. I think Ernie's still probably working with Mr. Berlotti on when that's going to occur. Again, but these are street trees. We're not. What you'll see is if we're not careful, people start putting all their brush and limbs out. We're only anticipating doing the street trees that have fallen. This isn't an opportunity for everyone to dump their brush in their front yards, because we just don't have that kind of manpower to pick up that kind of opportunity. So if you're bringing all your brush from the back, it's still your responsibility to chop that up and remove it yourself.
What would it cost to have one of those cleanup days like we have twice a year to help the citizens out that had a tree that fell in the backyard and have that brush to contend with?
At the present time, a lot of the residents who had broken branches and the like, they have all dragged them all out into the curbside. And beyond that, they've even taken garden refuse and grass and everything else is out there. And so it's hard to know, just who did it or where it came from, because they just added to the piles that were existing there. But in talking with Bertolotti, they're going to be coming in later this week and see if we can finish the whole cleanup. And he's going to do it at no cost to us. And of course, public works crews are going to be busy most of the week. We're also going to be hauling some of that stuff and dropping them off at the bins that we have at our corporation yard. So that's going to be an ongoing effort. But they will be taking care of the private trees that they dragged out to the street.
Okay, so so I understand this correctly, it'll be a one-time pickup?
Yes.
Okay, and can we notify public that it's going to be Saturday the 27th or whatever the date is, so that they have one opportunity to clean up what the wind blew down supposedly and be done with it?
We won't be able to do that, Councilman, because the paper only comes out on the Thursday, and so it's we don't know what date Bertolotti is going to be coming in. They're going to be coming in as, I don't know if it'll be Thursday, Friday, or even over the weekend, but it's going to take quite an effort to clean it all up. But from what I've seen out there, most everybody just took it up on their own to drag the branches out there and put them out there. And I think that pretty much anybody who suffered any of those damages, they've looked down the street, they see the streets completely full of brush, and they figured this is our opportunity to get rid of this brush, and so.
Well, it still doesn't preclude the fact that some people might not know, and I asked you, Julie, if we could get that in this Thursday's edition of the paper, that they will clean up. It'll be a one-time
clean up. So this is your chance to get rid of your broken limbs. Don't come back crying to us if you miss it. Then it's your responsibility. It makes a shining star for the city of Newman that we're concerned about our citizens.
I think the deadline already passed. I mean, I think they're cleaning the paper right now. So I could call Dean real quick right now and ask him, but.
Is it possible to do that? Okay.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Are you gonna know a date?
Pardon, no, I don't know what
Doesn't know
date,
a
No.
date,
but
so he can't do it.
Yeah, just have it, just tell them
It's coming soon. Why not?
it's coming soon. That's it. This is your notice and opportunity.
Your city.
Thank you, Ernie. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Neighborhood
Eric.
near you.
I come to neighborhood near you, yes.
Lastly, the last thing that I have is we were contacted by a local resident who attends the University of Southern California, and she asked if she could do an internship for us. And so for the last 2 weeks, she's been doing an internship at City Hall, and she's a communications major, so she will be getting our newsletter out within the next couple of weeks. She would be doing some updates to the website. What other things we got to work on? Yeah, customer information, just updating all of our handouts and those types of things, just kind of refreshing all of those. So, and that'd be it. And again, that's at no cost to the city. She works Monday through Thursday at this point in time. So, with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Questions?
Mike, the only question I have, if the staff could help out on that, we have the banner for the girls, for the last year undefeated season. Now, again, they won the sectionals. I'd love to be able to see a little banner because they won the sectionals again this year. And just add to the other banner.
Well, we gave the other banner to them.
No, I know, they have it on the field, but I'm
Okay,
wondering,
we can see- we'll see,
take all
yeah.
the money that I don't spend and put it into another little banner, not a big one, but I mean something you could attach to that banner. And because I'm hoping that there'll be a lot of sectional championships on that banner.
You'd like it back to back by the other banner?
Well, actually attached to it, like you have the big banner and then have something, maybe another little banner attached to it, another one, and another one.
We'll contact
If you
Coach
could,
Casey
Mike, I'd
and see
appreciate
what we
that.
can do on
Yeah,
that.
but definitely recognize it. Sure. Please.
With that, that's all the-
Michael, last meeting I asked you about the possibility of adding a handicap parking. Have you been able to check on that at Dr. Conga's office?
Yeah, Ernie, you were going to check with Stoddard and Associates to see on costs, and part of what Ernie and I had talked about was, go ahead, Ernie, and fill them in on some of the changes we would have to do to to install that.
Mostly what we did is we reviewed some of the past requests because they had been, this has been an ongoing issue with that. One of the requests that they had there for Dr. Conga, and it happened a few years ago, was through the alley. What they did is they recessed that door there that went in through Dr. Calanta's office, and that made it an opportunity for them to deliver patients there. We took a look at some of the sidewalk areas where, because you have a maximum of 8.33% within 12 feet in the landing area, you can't put in a regular handicap ramp there. So you have to take a look and design it so that it slopes away from to the sides. So it's quite a bit of a sidewalk area that has to be taken up. And of course, along with that, you're going to be using up 2 parking spaces. So I've been talking with Gary Rogers, our consultant engineer from Boyle. And when we meet next week, because we're going to be getting our water line project started here, we'll take a look at that area and see what recommendations
I just really think
we
it's
can
something
come
that
up with.
we need to take a look at, because I was there again today, and the alley access that you talk about, number one, I don't know that a handicap. It's okay if somebody drops somebody off, but there's gravel, large rocks, and then there's a short drop off to sidewalk going to the back alley. I think it'd be awfully difficult for a handicapped person, especially if they're there by themselves.
Oh, I mean, to be able to park
Absolutely.
and get off, I think.
So I'm talking about an area where a handicapped person can pull in and park in front of the doctor's office and
Right.
get out and go to the doctor if need be, or drop off. I still would like to see us somehow make it happen. I know it's a project, but
I'll be discussing it with
Okay.
Gary Rogers next week. When
Thanks.
he comes in, he'll take a look at the area. We'll take a look and see what it all consists of, and then we'll bring a report back
thank
to
you.
you.
Thanks, Ernie.
Ernie, might as well stay there. Oh.
Okay?
If you have anything.
Julie has.
Yes, Julie.
It is possible to put it in briefly, but his concern is that you don't know the date. You
No.
don't want to leave it open-ended and have people just start to, bring people out of their yards and.
No, somehow it needs to be worded that they need to get the brush out before the end of this week. That way, when they read it, they see that at the end of this week, by Saturday, that they drag it out. I really don't anticipate that much brush that has not been dragged out already from what I've seen in riding around the city. So I really don't anticipate that being a problem. But again, I need to make sure that it is branches that have been damaged because of the windstorm and not an open-ended case where they will want to dump all the rubbish and all the garden refuse out
They're
there.
not coming next week, they're not coming this weekend, they'd be coming next week.
There may be, we're trying to set it up so that they can show up at the end of this week, either Thursday or Friday.
But that's what I'm saying, the paper doesn't come out till Thursday, so this is what I'm asking.
Well-
So,
Julie, just maybe something, the city will clean up your wind damage. Please put it in the street and cut it to 3-foot lengths
Yes, that would be great.
and leave it open-ended.
Yeah, and then if anything happens, which I'm sure is going to be minor, I'm sure that our public works crews can pick it up and go dump it over at the corporation yard on our own, even after Berdolati has gone.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Michael, were you done?
I'm done.
Ernie, anything else?
No, that I can think of. I've already mentioned the water line project and that issue, so I'm done.
Everything kind of led into the other thing, so you're done.
Ernie, I had a quick question. On the underground system for the plaza, is that close to starting? I noticed they look like they were marking the ground out there.
Yes, we went out there and we marked the entire area last week. We also went out there and we potholed the facilities to ensure as to that we wouldn't have any conflicts with any other areas. We found that it's really cramped tight in there, and because in 1981 the city of Newman did a complete refurbishment of all the water lines in this area. And what they did is they abandoned a 4-inch steel water main in place. And so that's adding to the conflict. And what we are looking at the present time is perhaps we're going to have to remove that 4-inch steel water main, take it out of that, and put the new water main in its place. And of course, this will probably require a change order. This is something that it hasn't been resolved. I just got an email today from the contractor that CC to me, where he sent the concern to our city engineer, Gary Rogers, and I haven't talked to Gary about it. But this is one of the issues that we need to resolve, in barring any further problems, we'll get going sometime next week.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Ernie. Any other staff reports?
Good evening. I just wanted to remind everybody that we are currently registering for a youth soccer program, and that begins in late July, and registration for all these programs end on June 27th. We're also registering for soccer camp, which is July 14th through the 18th, basketball camp, July 28th through August 1st, volleyball camp, August 4th through August 8th. Tennis classes begin June 27th, and Fit Kids begins Monday. That is a free program, and swim field trips will begin this Wednesday. Any questions?
The only thing I want to say is you're doing a remarkable job keeping these young people busy, and I thank you and the city of Newman for doing that, because they're always idle in the summertime, and it's a good time for those programs to take place. Thank you very much, Chair.
Especially when they can't really say there's nothing to do for kids to do in this town when there's plenty.
That's right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Reminder, the employee softball game June 8th, Sunday, June 8th, at 10 a.m. City Hall will be playing Recreation Department first game, and Public Works and PD will be playing at 11 o'clock. Like to see you all out there, except for Ted, because we saw how good he was last year.
Yeah, right. Did you get any ringers for us?
Recreation plan to lose.
Other staff reports? Chief?
Police Department's pleased to say that we will be there defending our championship title for last year. And, we'll want one of those banners, Councilman.
Good point. Good point.
We've been busy the last couple of weeks. Sunday obviously was the fun run. The weather was a disappointing damper on that. The numbers were obviously low, so with that there was of course no problems, 0 arrests to report, any issues whatsoever. We were able to start downscaling officers pretty quickly to limit our cost on that, since it just wasn't necessary. The other major thing I'm sure everybody observed coming in is the building's been painted, and it's pretty mixed. You're never going to make everybody happy, obviously, but pretty mixed on how aesthetically pleasing that is to everybody. But that's ongoing, and there's still obviously a lot of trim work and accent to be done and so on. But that's been the happenings around the police department the last couple of weeks.
I think the building looks good. Looks good
nice
to me.
Okay. Thank you.
There's another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions for Adam? Thank you, Chief. Anyone else back there? That's it? Done?
Michael stole my thunder, Bob. I don't know what to tell you. Talked all about the budget. That's all I had.
Okay.
You'll get another chance, son.
Council comments? Mike?
I have none this evening, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Bob?
I have none to say.
Ted?
None, thank you.
Ed?
No, I'm good.
You sure?
I'm good.
And I had nothing also. With that, we will go to closed session for labor negotiations.